Welcome back. Let's get into that game between Everton and Liverpool. Let me start with you, Edwin. So, Liverpool got their 2-0 win, but a lot of people are looking back and saying, looks like you are getting handed some favourable decisions because some decisions went against you when you played Tottenham. How does that tie into things? Inconsistency with VAR and Liverpool eventually getting their win.
Look, Liverpool have been hard done by some decisions in the past, and of course, when such high-profile decisions go against you, one might say that the referees are more lenient going forward, but I don't think that was the case in this game. Was that a penalty? Yes, it was a penalty. What other decision? Was it a red card? Yes, it was a red card. I, sitting here, could have told you that 38-year-old Ashley Young would not cope, whether it was against Mo Salah on one side or Luis Diaz on the other. There was no way he was going to be able to keep up with their pace or trickery. So putting him there was a bad mistake in the first place. Him getting a red card was the least surprising thing to me. What was surprising was that Liverpool took until 70 minutes to get a goal. And they say that teams are more dangerous or they are more difficult to break through when they go down to 10 men. And I think Everton did well to keep the scores down until then. But once that goal went in, once that Michael Keane penalty was given, that was it. There was no way Everton were going to get back into it. Before the red card, there was no way their attack would get past that Liverpool defense. They didn't have any bites. There's no creativity in the team. Even when they do get the chances, they tend to miss them. They've so far missed 21 big chances in the Premier League. They are not getting goals against the weaker teams. There was no way they were going to get goals against Liverpool. And defensively, against Liverpool's attack, it was only a matter of time. And once that red card happened, I was waiting until the goals would flow in. It took a while, but Mo Salah, what a player, man. We talk about him all the time, comparing to other players, but he's such a special player. He's one that you can't define. And if your team is not playing well, if your team needs goals, he's one player you can call on. And Liverpool have been able to call on him for a few years now, and he's delivered, not just from the penalty spot, but even when you felt that the game was petering out, he still had the energy to make that run along with Darwin Núñez, the desire to get into the penalty box to find that goal. And you don't find players with this much passion after all the success that he's had with Liverpool.
His consistency
is crazy. And I feel that Liverpool have been probably the most exciting offensive team in the Premier League. Defensively, that's where their issues are, and we talk about this every week. But judging on their play going forward, this team should be challenging for the league. They just need to sort out that back four or back five or whichever formation they decide to play. And that's the only way they are going to keep up with a team like Man City or Spurs.
Coach, talk to me about the difficulty in breaking down a 10-man team, because look, at a point, I thought Liverpool were not going to score. They didn't look like they were going to score. Balls were getting into the box. It was just very half-hearted efforts. I'm not sure what was going on there.
You see, normally, when a team go a man down, the message is sent to every player that we all need to do
Extra.
a +1 of what we would have done if it was 11v11. So there's that natural message given to them. And then tactically too, as a coach, you need to respond. So this is what Sean Dyche did. After the red card, he took off the left-footed player, I've forgotten his name. Once he took him off.
Mikolenko?
No, not Mikolenko. The one he brought from Burnley.
Ben Mee?
No, not Ben Mee. He plays, I've forgotten his name. Oh my God.
McGinn?
No, not McGinn.
Dwight McNeil.
McNeil.
Yeah.
Correct. So he took him off. And once he took him off, he brought on Michael Keane. So instead of they were initially 4 at the back, they went 5 at the back. Although Ashley Young got center, but he withdrew, he brought in, and then they went 5 at the back, then 3 in the middle, and all those guys in the middle too, all sat back, and there was only Calvin Lewin in front of them. and they were playing very deep. Normally, when you play very deep and you have more men across, your opponent tend to play with width. But when they stretch the play, because you have 5 men at the back, you tend to deal with it better. And when the ball shifts and there's that diagonal movement, the 3 in the middle, together with the striker who also dropped at times, made it 4-5 or 5-4. So you always have men behind the ball. So normally, if you want to break them down, you need more technical players. And you could clearly see that Jurgen Klopp, after the first 5-10 minutes in that second half, introduced Elliott, brought on Darwin Núñez. He needed to bring in more attackers who move off the ball and create space. But look, it would have been even much more difficult if Michael Keane had not behaved stupidly. I think the fact that he had his hand stretched out like that every day, all day, that is a penalty. And I was wondering, what was he thinking about? Because at the time, they were doing fine. It's a very typical training routine where at times you say, okay, we are going to go defenders against what? Attackers. There are times where you shorten the defenders or reduce their number, increase the number of the attacking team, or vice versa. Here was the case where Liverpool had more attacking players on the pitch. Everton had more. But in terms of numbers, Liverpool had 1-man advantage. So all he needed was to keep his calm. And look, Konate should have been sent off. I think that is where, and at the time, if he had been sent off,
the complexion
Liverpool
of the game
was leaving 1-0. As to how he stayed on for an offense very similar to what Ashley Young did. He had already been booked, and then he committed, because Ashley Young had already been booked. His first foul, he got booked. A foul that I didn't think was a yellow card. Was even a yellow card. His second foul, he got sent off. Konate got booked, and then he committed something even more serious than to what Ashley Young did, and then he stayed on. So I understand when people are saying that there's lots of inconsistency now when it comes to games involving Liverpool. Are they trying to what? More or less satisfy Jurgen Klopp for what happened against Spurs? I mean, we all have to move on. The error had already been committed. As a body, the refereeing association, you should look back and make sure you don't repeat the bad, not to favor anybody. If there's a need to punish, you punish, because after all, that game wasn't Aston Villa versus what? Liverpool. It was Spurs against Liverpool. Why do you punish Villa for something that they had no control about? So that is very, very unfair.